I spot the cream envelope instantly, its gold embossing catching the morning light as it peeks out from the stack of bills and flyers in my mailbox. My heart skips. This isn't Madeline's wedding invitation. Autumn leaves crunch under my feet as I hurry back up the walkway to my apartment, clutching the envelope against my chest. The paper feels expensive between my fingers, thick and textured. I settle at my kitchen counter and slide my finger under the seal, careful not to tear it. Inside, I find a collection of cards: the formal invitation, a response card, and a detailed itinerary. My name is printed in elegant calligraphy, Miss Renee Jenkins. I smile, running my finger over the letters before turning to the weekend schedule. The smile freezes on my face. I flip through the cards again, slower this time. There must be a mistake. But there isn't. I'm listed as a regular guest. Not a bridesmaid, not maid of honor. Just a guest. Like Madeline's college roommate or Dad's business associates. A cold weight settles in my stomach as I scan the itinerary. Professional photography at 2 p.m. Bride with parents, groom with parents, bride and groom with groom's family, bride and groom with bride's family, parents and brother Noah. Noah. My younger brother's included. I am not. Just 3 months ago, Madeline and I had wine on my balcony, and she gushed about her plans. We'll have to find you the perfect bridesmaid dress, she'd said, squeezing my hand. Sisters forever, right? Sisters forever. The words echo in my head, bitter now. My mind drifts back to our childhood bedroom twin beds, with matching floral comforters, glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. During those nights when Dad's voice boomed through the walls and Mom's tearful replies followed, Madeline would crawl into my bed. We'd huddle together, whispering secrets and dreams until the house grew quiet. I'll always protect you, she promised once, her small hand finding mine in the darkness. And she did. When Tommy Miller pointed at my face in 4th grade and loudly asked what was wrong with me, Madeline stepped between us. Nothing's wrong with her, she'd said, chin raised. God just loved her enough to give her an extra brushstroke. He was more careful with her than with the rest of us. The memory stings as I stare at the invitation. What happened to the sister who once defended my birthmark as a mark of divine favor? I reach for my phone, scrolling to Madeline's name. My hands are shaking as I press call, rehearsing calm, reasonable questions in my head. Renee, hi. Her voice sounds guarded when she answers, lacking its usual warmth. Hey, Maddie, I just got the wedding invitation. I pause, giving her a chance to jump in with an explanation. She doesn't. I noticed I'm not listed in the wedding party or family photos. The silence stretches between us, heavy and uncomfortable. Right, about that. She hesitates. I hear a murmur in the background, Jake's voice, though I can't make out his words. We decided to keep the wedding party small. Noah's a groomsman, I say, my voice steady despite the hurt churning inside me. Jake wanted him. They've gotten close, with the golf lessons. I thought I'd be standing with you. You said sisters forever when we talked about your wedding. Another pause. Longer this time. When Madeline speaks again, her voice has dropped to nearly a whisper. Renee, please understand. We're going for a really soft, minimalist aesthetic. And your birthmark might kind of stand out. The words hit like a physical blow. My free hand moves instinctively to my left cheek, fingers tracing the edges of the port wine stain that covers a third of my face. In the photos, she adds, as if that makes it better, Jake's family is very particular about appearances. I end the call without answering and drive to my parents' house in a daze. The familiar kitchen, with its faded yellow curtains and the scent of Mom's cinnamon tea, has always been a refuge. Today, it feels like walking into a trap. You spoke to Madeline? Mom asked the moment I step inside, her expression carefully neutral. I nod, settling at the kitchen table. Did you know? Mom busies herself with the kettle. Dad lowers his newspaper just enough to glance at me over the top. You know how important appearances are to the Thompsons, he says with a dismissive wave of his hand. Jake's father is on the hospital board with half the town's elite. So you agree with her? The betrayal cuts deeper now, expanding beyond Madeline. Mom sets a mug of tea in front of me, not meeting my eyes. Sometimes we have to accept what's best for the event, not for ourselves. The tea steams between us, untouched. I stare at my mother, this woman who taught me to stand tall, who once told me my birthmark was a beauty marno, suggesting I should accept being erased from my own sister's wedding photos. I leave without drinking the tea, without another word. In my car, parked at the end of their driveway where they can't see me from the house, I finally let the tears come. They slide hot down my cheeks, both cheeks, the marked and unmarked skin equally wet with grief. What would you do if your most trusted family member asked you to hide a part of yourself for their perfect day? The question echoes in my mind as I drive away, already knowing my answer will change everything about this family forever. The Pinterest notification pops up on my phone. Madeline Jenkins has added you to Dream Wedding. I shouldn't look, but curiosity pulls me in like a tide. I freeze at a board titled Flawless Family Photos, filled with portraits of perfectly matched families in cream and blush tones. Every face unblemished, every smile symmetrical. Not a single visible difference among them. My phone buzzes with a text from Emma, one of Madeline's bridesmaids. Just finished another makeup trial. Your sister is obsessed with everything looking perfect. The makeup artist said she's been asked about coverage options for imperfections 3 times now. You okay? I set the phone down, fingers suddenly numb. Coverage options. The words echo as I walk to the bathroom and stand before the mirror, examining the port wine stain that covers my left cheek. In certain light, it almost glows a rich burgundy against my olive skin. The memory surfaces unbidden. Madeline at 12, me at 9, walking home from school. Tommy Miller pointing at my face, sneering, "What's wrong with her?" And Madeline, small but fierce, stepping between us. Nothing's wrong with her. God just loved her enough to give her an extra brush stroke. He was more careful with her than with the rest of us. My phone rings, interrupting the memory. It's Mom. I let it go to voicemail but listen when the notification appears. Linda, I don't know what to do. Mom's voice, not intended for me. She must have accidentally called while talking to Aunt Linda. We've always tried to work around Renee's situation. School photos, family portraits, but a wedding is different. Jake's family is very prominent, and Madeline deserves her perfect day without complications. I hang up, handshaking. Complications? Is that what I am to them? My email pings. The wedding photographer's name appears in my inbox. Dear Miss Jenkins, your sister provided your contact information regarding the upcoming celebration. She mentioned you might require special accommodation for the family photos. I'd like to discuss lighting and positioning options that would help minimize any areas of concern. I delete it without finishing. Accommodation. Minimize. Concern. The sanitized language of shame. Looking back in the mirror, I really look. My birthmark isn't just part of my face, it's mapped the geography of my life. It's determined where I stand in rooms, how I turn my head in conversations, which side faces the camera. Your birthmark is like a brushstroke from God, it makes you unique, Madeline once said, defending me. Now she suggests heavy makeup coverage options through surrogates and excludes me from her wedding party. I touch my face, tracing the birthmark's outline with my fingertips. This is me, I whisper to my reflection. All of me. My phone rings again. Aunt Linda this time, not a misdial. I heard what happened, she says without preamble. It's not right, Renee. Her words land like a balm on raw skin. Finally, someone in my family seeing the injury for what it is. After we hang up, Emma arrives with wine and fierce loyalty. Your sister is being horrible, she announces, pouring generous glasses. And your parents are enabling it. Later that night, Marcus from work calls, having heard fragments of the story. My family didn't come to my wedding because my husband is black, he tells me. Sometimes the family you're born into isn't the family that deserves you. His words stay with me as I search my closet the next morning, looking for an old photo album. I find it under a stack of winter sweaters, childhood, captured in fading Polaroids. There it is on page 12. Madeline and me in plastic tiaras, draped in Mom's old scarves as royal robes. I'm 7, my birthmark vivid against my smiling face. Madeline is 10, her arm thrown protectively around my shoulders. Both of us beaming without reservation. I carefully remove the photo and find a silver frame in my desk drawer. It fits perfectly. Then I sit with a notepad, drafting and redrafting a message to accompany it. 2 hours and a dozen attempts later, I have the words, "Thank you for helping me realize not everyone who calls you family actually sees you as part of the picture." I wrap the framed photo carefully, slide it into a small box with my note, and add the response card marked, "Will not attend," where it asks for my RSVP. My hand shakes as I seal the envelope, but my resolve doesn't waver. The package feels impossibly heavy as I walk to the mailbox at the corner. I stand there a moment, my hand resting on the blue metal lip. Dropping this in means no reconciliation, no last-minute change of heart. I release the package into the darkness of the mailbox. The metal door clangs shut with surprising finality. Walking home, I expect regret to follow me like a shadow. Instead, I feel something else entirely, something that takes several blocks to identify. Relief. For the first time in 30 years, I've stopped accommodating the discomfort my face causes others. I stopped making myself smaller, less visible, less present. The autumn wind brushes against both cheeks, the marked and unmarked skin equally caressed by the evening air. I turn my face fully into the breeze, hiding nothing. The church bells chime across town as I sit cross-legged on my living room floor, my laptop open to a mindfulness meditation video. Right now, Madeline is walking down the aisle in her custom Vera Wang dress, arm-linked with Dad's. My phone buzzes again, the 5th time in 30 minutes. "Cousin Rachel, everyone's asking where you are. Are you sick?" "Aunt Linda, are you okay, sweetheart? I understand if you couldn't come." "Uncle Robert, your absence is noticed. Hope you're not ill." I set the phone face down without responding. What would I say? "Sorry, couldn't make it. My face doesn't match the wedding aesthetic." Instead of dwelling on what's happening across town, I follow my carefully planned day. The lavender-scented bath soothes muscles I didn't realize were tense. The face mask, ironically, one that promises flawless skin, makes me smile as I apply it evenly across both cheeks. What surprises me most is the peace settling over me like a soft blanket. There's no regret clouding my mind, no second-guessing my decision. The relief is almost dizzying. After my bath, wrapped in my softest robe, I find myself pulling the old photo album from the bookshelf. Inside are the remnants of a childhood that suddenly seems 4 and 2 sisters with matching grins, arms wrapped around each other as if nothing could ever separate them. There's the Christmas when Madeline gave me half her candy because a relative had forgotten my stocking. There we are at the beach, 16 and 13, sunburned and laughing, my birthmark clearly visible because I'd sweated off the makeup Mom insisted I wear. The realization hits me like a physical blow. I've been silent about my pain for decades. Every time Mom suggested I do something about my face, every time Dad positioned me at the back of family photos, I smiled and nodded and turned the other cheek, the unmarked one, toward the world. No more. I reach for my phone with sudden resolution. Opening the camera, I position myself near the window where the afternoon light streams in. No filter, no strategic angle, no makeup, just me, birthmark and all. My thumb hovers over the capture button. 3 deep breaths, and I press it. The caption takes me 4 attempts. Too angry, too bitter, too apologetic. Finally, I type. "It's okay. I don't need to be in the picture. I just thought I was part of the family." My finger trembles as it hovers over share. 1 click, and this private pain becomes public. I press it. Within minutes, the notifications begin. Heart emojis from close friends. Supportive comments from coworkers. Then something unexpected, a share from someone I don't know, with the caption, "This touched my soul." How many of us had been erased from our own family stories? By morning, I wake to thousands of notifications. 10,000 likes, shares in the thousands, comments numbering in the hundreds. As I scroll, disbelief mounting, I see that my small moment of truth has erupted into something far beyond my control. News sites have picked up the story. Wedding rejection goes viral. Strangers are sharing their own stories of family exclusion in the comments. I have vitiligo, and my cousin asked me not to be in her wedding photos. I never told anyone how much it hurt until seeing your post. My daughter has a facial scar from an accident. She's only 8 and already learning to hide. Thank you for showing her another way. 3 different news stations have sent interview requests. A facial difference advocacy organization has reached out asking if I'd consider becoming a spokesperson. My private pain has become a public conversation. The first call comes from Mom at 7:43 a.m., followed by 3 more in quick succession. I let them all go to voicemail. When I finally listen, her voice progresses from confusion to anger to tearful pleading. Renee, what have you done? Everyone is calling us. The second message is higher pitched. The Thompsons are asking questions. Jake's mother called me. By the third, she's crying. I don't understand why you're doing this to us. We've always protected you, always made sure you felt included despite your condition. Next comes Dad's text, blunt and dismissive. Fix this embarrassment immediately. You've gone too far this time. It's nearly noon when Madeline calls from her honeymoon. I answer this one, my composure hard-won through a morning of deep breathing. How could you? She demands, her voice thick with tears. This was supposed to be the happiest time of my life, and now everyone's talking about your post instead of my wedding. I didn't mention your name or your wedding, I reply, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. I shared my truth. Your truth? She spits the words. What about family loyalty? Privacy? That's rich coming from you, Maddie. Her voice drops to a whisper. Jake's family saw it. His mother asked if I was ashamed of you. Some of our wedding guests messaged me asking why you weren't there. They said they didn't see you in any of the ceremony photos. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? I close my eyes, absorbing the revelation. People noticed my absence. They questioned it. I'm sorry you felt humiliated, I say finally. I know how important appearances are to you. After we hang up, I sit in the stillness of my apartment, trying to process what's happening. I never expected this. I'm not an influencer or a public speaker or an activist. I'm just Renee Jenkins, the woman with the birthmark who finally stopped hiding. My phone pings with a new email notification. A producer from Morning America wants me to share my story. What happens when a private family rejection becomes a public conversation? I never expected to become the voice for thousands who felt invisible, but as my trembling fingers reach for the keyboard to respond, I realize my next move will show us all what true courage looks like. The call comes on a Tuesday morning while I'm stirring honey into my tea. The producer's voice is warm, almost reverent. Miss Jenkins, your story has touched so many people. We'd like to invite you to share it on Morning Conversations with America. My spoon clatters against porcelain. The show reaches millions, mostly women over 50, who send prayer chains and vote in every election. Women like my mother. I spend hours considering whether to accept. This isn't about revenge. It's about the thousands of comments from people with visible differences who've endured similar rejections. Their stories haunt and deserve to be acknowledged. I'll do it, I tell the producer when she calls back. But I want to focus on acceptance, not my specific family situation. She agrees immediately. That's exactly why we chose you, Renee. Your dignity speaks volumes. Dad's call comes that night, his voice carrying that false casual tone that always precedes a threat. This family business needs to stay private, he says without preamble. Your grandfather left the lake house to me, and I determine who inherits it. Remember that before you go embarrassing us on national television. Within hours, Mom appears at my door, uninvited. Sweetheart, she says, slipping past me into the apartment. Her perfume, the same lily scent she's worn since childhood, fills my entryway. Family matters should stay private. That's how we were raised. You're only worried about privacy now that people are seeing the truth. I counter. She sighs. Jake's family is mortified. His father sits on boards with people who watch that show. Jake himself calls Nexus lawyer voice in full effect. Public disparagement has legal consequences, he says. I'm asking you, as family, to reconsider. Just before bed, my phone dings with a text from Noah. I should have said something at the wedding. No apology, no commitment to do better. Just an acknowledgement that comes too late. The studio lights are warmer than I expected. The makeup artist worked carefully around my birthmark, enhancing my features without trying to conceal what makes me different. Catherine Mills, the host, leans over during the commercial break. Remember, this is your story to tell. Take your time. The red light blinks on, and suddenly we're live to millions of viewers. Renee, your post about feeling excluded because of your birthmark resonated with thousands. Can you tell us what happened? I take a deep breath. I'd rather not focus on specific family details. I begin. What matters is that I spent decades believing I needed to minimize myself to deserve inclusion. I don't mention Madeline by name. I don't describe the wedding invitation or my parents' dismissal. Instead, I speak about living 30 years with a visible difference in a world obsessed with flawlessness. This birthmark doesn't define me, I say, my voice growing stronger. But how people respond to it defines them. When I check my phone afterward, messages flood in, not just from friends, but from strangers. A woman whose burn scars kept her from attending her son's wedding. A teenager with alopecia whose yearbook photo was airbrushed without permission. They all say variations of the same thing. Thank you for speaking up. I thought I was alone. That night, I start a blog. I call it the Picture Perfect Family Myth, and write about the gap between the stories families tell themselves and the painful truths they hide. The myth of the perfect family is perhaps the most dangerous story we tell ourselves, I type. It leaves no room for our authentic selves, only the versions others can tolerate. I write until dawn breaks, the words flowing like a river breaking through a dam. With each paragraph, I feel lighter, cleaner, more myself. Comments appear almost immediately from people sharing their own stories of conditional acceptance. Your words gave me courage to look in the mirror again. Writes someone with facial scarring. I've been hiding my true self from family for decades, admits another. Their vulnerability becomes a mirror, reflecting my own healing journey. 2 days later, Mom texts, "We should talk things through." Sunday dinner? I craft my response deliberately. I need time and space. I'm establishing boundaries now that should have existed long ago. I hope someday we can have an honest relationship, but that requires acknowledging the harm done, not just moving past it. I won't be coming to dinner. I set my phone to silent and place it face down on the coffee table. Since the invitation arrived, my shoulders relax completely. When Emma asks about my Thanksgiving plans, I realize with quiet surprise that I feel no obligation to spend it with relatives who see me as an inconvenience. I'm thinking of hosting a friend's giving, I tell her, for all of us who need a holiday without apologies or conditions. Count me in, she says without hesitation. I hang a new mirror in my entryway larger than the old one, positioned where the morning light hits it directly. Each day, I look at my reflection fully, no angle or shadows to minimize my birthmark. This face me whole, complete face is the one I'm finally ready to show the world. Not just on television or my blog, but in everyday moments where authenticity matters most. I check my lipstick one last time in Aunt Linda's guest bathroom mirror, shade that complements rather than distracts from my birthmark. My therapist, Dr. Chen's voice echoes in my mind. Remember, you're not there to convince them. You're there to speak your truth. 6 months have passed since Madeline's wedding. 6 months of unanswered calls gradually tapering to tense text messages. 6 months of rebuilding myself while they whispered about my absence. Emma waits in the hallway, scrolling through her phone. "Ready?" she asks, squeezing my elbow. I nod, my heart beats steadier than I expected. As I'll ever be. The living room falls silent as we enter. They're arranged like a tribunal, Mom and Dad on the floral love seat, Madeline perched on an armchair, Noah leaning against the fireplace mantel. Aunt Linda hovers near the kitchen doorway, arms crossed. "You brought someone." Mom's voice carries that familiar note of disapproval. "This is a family matter, Renee." Emma is family to me, I reply, the words coming easier than they would have 6 months ago. She stays. Dad clears his throat. This has gone far enough. Your mother hasn't slept properly in months. The Hendersons asked if you were in some kind of institution. We told them you were having a difficult time. Mom interjects, twisting her wedding band. A nervous breakdown. It was kinder than explaining you'd abandon your sister. Abandoned? The word hangs between us. I was never invited to be part of it in the first place. That's not fair, Madeline says, tears already welling. You're twisting everything to make yourself the victim. Do you know what it's like having my wedding remembered as the one where the sister didn't come? You stole my moment. I take a deep breath, feeling the practiced words rise to my lips. I've listened to you my entire life. And that's the problem, Dad interrupts. You've always been too sensitive, making mountains out of molehills. No. The single word silences the room. Even Emma looks surprised at the steel in my voice. The problem is that I spent 30 years believing that love meant making myself smaller, easier to digest, less visible. I pull a small photo album from my bag, opening to a marked page. Here's me at 7, positioned at the back of every family photo. Here's me at 16, makeup caked on my face for Noah's graduation. Here's the Christmas card where I'm turned at an angle to hide my left side. Mom's face crumples. We were protecting you. From what? I ask, setting the album on the coffee table. From feeling like I belonged exactly as I am? Our family has a certain image, Dad says, his jaw tight. The Jenkinses have always prided ourselves on appearances. I finish for him. But at what cost? I don't need your approval to value myself anymore. Madeline stands, pacing now. This isn't just about your birthmark. It's about how you've always needed to be different, to make everything about you. My wedding was supposed to be perfect. Perfect for whom, I ask? Your rejection hurt because I loved you so completely. I believed you when you said, sisters forever. Remember when you told me God gave me an extra brushstroke? What changed, Maddie? The question hangs in the air. Madeline opens her mouth, closes it, then sits back down. Dad pushes himself up from the love seat. I won't sit here and be lectured by my own daughter about family loyalty. His footsteps echo through the hallway, followed by the decisive slam of the front door. Mom's controlled facade finally breaks. She sobs not the performative tears I've seen my whole life, but guttural, genuine cries that bend her forward. Madeline stares at her hands. Jake said it would look awkward in the photos, his mother thought. I shouldn't have listened, but I did. Noah steps away from the mantel, approaching me for the first time. I knew it was wrong, he says quietly. At the wedding, people kept asking where you were. I said you were sick, but I knew. I'm sorry, Renee, I should have said something. You're all sorry now, I say. But would you be if I hadn't walked away? If I'd just shown up and stood where I was told, hidden when asked, like always? Aunt Linda moves from her corner, positioning herself beside me. I've watched this happen for years, she says, her hand finding my shoulder. This family has a history of hiding what we think are imperfections. My sister Darlene, your grandmother's cousin, had a clubfoot. They kept her home from family weddings. My own daughter's learning disability was our family secret until she struggled so much in college that she dropped out. She looks at my mother. I regret not speaking up sooner. The weight of Aunt Linda's words settles across the room. An elder saying, Renee is right, creates a seismic shift I feel in my bones. What happens now? Noah asks. I look around at these people whose blood I share, whose approval I once craved more than oxygen. That depends, I say, on whether any of you are ready to see all of me, not just the parts that fit your perfect picture. I stand before 20 women at the community center, my hands steady as I gesture to the projected image behind me, a photo of my face, birthmark fully visible, smile genuine. The moment I stopped hiding, I tell them, was the moment I started living. They nod. These women with their own visible differences, scars, birthmarks, skin conditions. 2 years after Madeline's wedding, I found my purpose in these workshops. My collection of essays, marked, Finding Beauty in What Makes Us Different, sits on a small table by the door. The journey from rejected sister to published author still feels surreal some days. After the workshop, I walk home through autumn leaves that mirror those from the day I received Madeline's invitation. But today they're crunched beneath my boots, sounds like applause, not judgment. My apartment different now, filled with photographs I've taken of people with visible differences. Their faces radiating joy welcomes me with the scent of the cinnamon candle Emma gave me for my birthday last week. The celebration still warms me. Friends gathered around my dining table, raising glasses to my 32nd year, seeing meal of me without flinching. Dr. Levine says I've made remarkable progress. Family wounds are the deepest, she told me in yesterday's session. Healing from them is a lifelong practice. I settle on my couch and open my laptop to an email from Noah. Unlike Madeline and Deb, my brother has fought his way back into my life with persistent honesty. His messages come weekly now, tentative, but determined bridges across the family divide. I told Dad about your book award yesterday. He didn't say much, but he kept the newspaper clipping. Maybe that's something. I sigh. It's not an apology, but it's more than I expected. Aunt Linda calls to check on me almost daily, her fierce love a bedrock I never knew I needed until my family's foundation crumbled. Mom's letters arrive monthly, written in her perfect penmanship on cream stationery. They rarely mention my birthmark directly, but last week's note included a hesitant question. Would you send me a link to that interview you did about children with birthmarks? It's not understanding. Not yet. But it's reaching. The cream envelope on my coffee table catches my eye, another wedding invitation. But nothing like Madeline's. It's from my college roommate Sophia, with a handwritten note tucked inside. You'll be photographed exactly as you are, beautifully you. 5th bridesmaid from the left, please and thank you. I've already checked will attend without hesitation. The contrast isn't lost on me how different it feels to be wanted exactly as I am. Last night, after dinner with Marcus, he kissed me for the first time. His fingers traced the edge of my birthmark with a reverence that made my breath catch. I've wanted to do that since we met, he whispered. The possibility of being loved completely unfolds before me like a map to a country I never thought I'd visit. I placed Sophia's invitation next to a photograph taken at Emma's sister's wedding last month. There I am, standing in the bridal party, birthmark visible, smile radiant. You're perfect just as you are, the photographer had said, not as a reassurance but as a simple fact. The peace I felt in that moment returns now as I touch the photograph. I don't need to be airbrushed into perfection. I don't need to be tolerated or accommodated. You're perfect just as you are, the photographer had said, the words floating around me as the camera clicked. Not a reassurance or empty platitude, simple, undeniable fact. My phone buzzes with a notification. Another registration for next month's workshop. The community I've built extends beyond this City Now an online forum where people share their stories of visible differences, celebrating rather than hiding. Last week, a mother in Australia messaged me about how my essays helped her daughter embrace her facial scar. I smile at the thought. 2 years ago, I could barely meet my own eyes in the mirror. Now I stand before crowds, lead discussions, challenge perceptions. The confidence fills into every corner of my life. The promotion at work, the TED Talk invitation, the morning runs through the park with my head held high. I just need to be me that was always waiting beneath the shame others placed upon me, the me that emerged when I finally chose myself. What does true acceptance mean to you? Is it found in blood family, chosen connections, or within yourself? I discovered it begins with self-love, with standing firmly in your own skin marked or noted, recognizing your inherent worthiness of being seen. The ring of my phone cuts through the peaceful Saturday morning as I carefully water my spider plant. Sunlight streams through my apartment windows, creating dappled patterns on the hardwood floor. I balance my coffee mug in one hand, phone in the other, smiling when I see Reed's name on the screen. Morning, Reed, I answer, expecting our usual weekend check-in. His voice comes through tight with concern. Cassia, did you decide to sell the lake house without telling me? My coffee mug slips from my fingers, crashing to the floor. Hot liquid splashes across my bare feet, but I barely register the burn. What? No, I would never sell without... My words tumble out as ceramic shards scatter across the kitchen tiles. There's a listing online. Reed continues, his voice measured but urgent. It went up yesterday. I recognized your photos, the ones I took last summer of the deck and the water view, but it's listed under Laura C. with your mother's phone number as the contact. I sink to my knees, less to clean up the mess than because my legs suddenly can't hold me. Just yesterday, I'd been planning my quarterly retreat to the lake house, my sanctuary from the relentless demands of work. The one place where I could breathe. The listing says motivated seller vacant most of the year. Reed adds, concern deepening his voice. And Cassia, they've priced it $50,000 below market value. Someone's going to snatch it up immediately at that price. My free hand curls into a fist against the cold floor. Send me the link. I manage, my voice steadier than I feel. 2 weeks ago, we'd gathered around my parents' dining table, the one I'd helped them buy when their old ones simply wouldn't do anymore. Mom had casually brought up the lake house while passing the potatoes. What do you think that little cottage of yours is worth these days? She'd asked, eyes fixed on her plate. The market's been so good lately. Before I could answer, Tanner had stood, raising his glass with that familiar entitled smile. Since we're sharing news, Lacey and I are pregnant. After the obligatory congratulations, he'd continued. We need to find a proper family home now. Something with a yard, good schools nearby. I'd known what was coming next. The expectant look. The casual mention of down payments. I can't help right now, Tanner, I'd said firmly. I've already contributed $70,000 to family expenses this past year. The table had gone silent, Mom's disappointed sigh cutting deeper than any words. Now, as Reed's email arrives with the listing link, my shock transforms into action. I dial my mother's number, pacing between the shards of my broken mug. She answers on the third ring. Oh, honey, I was just about to call you. What are you doing? I cut her off, my voice shaking. Why is my lake house listed for sale? With your phone number? A brief pause, then her voice returns, light and unconcerned. Oh, honey, we thought we'd help you sell that place since you're hardly ever there. It's just sitting empty most of the time. My hand steadies as I pull up the listing on my laptop. There it is, my sanctuary, the place I'd saved for years to buy, being offered to strangers like a yard sale item. You have absolutely no right, I say, my voice dropping low. Take it down, now. Don't be dramatic, Cassia, Mom says with that dismissive tone I know too well. Your father wants to speak with you. The phone rustles, and Dad's gruff voice replaces hers. You owe the family, Cassia, he says without preamble. After everything we've done, you only contributed $7,000 to Tanner's wedding, and now with the baby coming, I don't owe you my property, I interrupt, heat rising in my chest. You can't sell something that isn't yours. Dad's laugh holds no humor. We still have your refinance paperwork from when you asked for our help with the loan application. Lorraine kept copies with your signature samples. That's enough to make it work. The threat hits me like a physical blow. Not just the illegal implication, but the casual way he says it as if stealing from me is their right. We're family, Mom calls from the background. Family helps family. The words echo as I end the call, staring at the broken pieces scattered across my kitchen floor. All these years, I'd told myself they needed me, that I was helping them through rough patches. But the truth crystallizes with brutal clarity. They don't see me as a daughter with her own life and dreams. They see me as a resource to be used up, piece by piece, until nothing remains. I hang up on my father, my breath coming in short bursts. The broken ceramic shards of my favorite mug surround me like evidence at a crime scene. My bare feet remain planted amid the mess, oblivious to the cooling coffee puddle or the risk of cuts. I need proof. Parents don't just suddenly decide to steal property. This has to have roots. The family email account still works. They never bothered changing the password after setting it up for emergency communications. My fingers tremble as I navigate to the account on my laptop. 3 years of messages load on the screen. I filter for Lake House and Cassia property. 17 results. The first email appears from 6 months ago, around when Lacey announced they were trying for a baby. My stomach tightens as I click it open. If Cassia won't help with the down payment, we need a plan B. The lake house sits empty most of the year anyway. I sink onto the couch, laptop balanced on my knees. Tanner's response glows blue against the white screen. She makes 6 figures and lives alone. She doesn't need 2 houses. Mom and Dad helped with her college. She owes us. Air vanishes from my lungs. They've been plotting this for months. I scroll down, each message worse than the last. The newest email, dated just last week, contains a forwarded exchange with someone called RJ. For a clean property transfer, I'll need copies of her signature from previous documents. Bring anything with her name on it. There's ways to make this work without involving her directly. My world narrows to the harsh light of the screen. My family isn't just trying to pressure me into selling. They're actively planning to forge my signature, to steal my property. Further back in the thread, I find a message from Mom to Dad. She questioned the emergency money for Tanner's car repair, so we should move quickly before she starts connecting dots. I dig deeper. 3 other schemes surface in the correspondence: plans to access my investment account for family needs, discussion about a credit card they wanted to open in my name, debate about borrowing from my retirement account, plans they abandoned when I asked too many questions. Within an hour, every email is printed, highlighted, and organized in a folder. My hands have stopped shaking. The fear has hardened into something else entirely, a cold, steady anger that propels me toward my car. 20 minutes later, after I gathered all the necessary pieces of proof, I stood on my parents' doorstep. The same doorstep where, as a child, I was taught honesty was the foundation of character. Mom answers, surprise flickering across her face before settling into a practiced smile. Cassia, what a pleasant entry. We need to talk. I step past her into the living room where Dad sits in his recliner, the one I paid for last Christmas, when their fixed income couldn't stretch for new furniture. What's this about? Dad asks, not bothering to stand. I drop the folder on the coffee table. The slap of paper against wood punctuates the sudden silence. This is about you trying to sell my house without my permission. Mom perches on the arm of Dad's chair, their united front physically manifested. Honey, we were just trying to help. You're so busy with work. Stop. I open the folder, placing emails in front of them like cards in a losing hand. You've been planning this for months. You discussed forging my signature. The doorbell rings. Tanner walks in without waiting for an answer, his timing too perfect to be coincidence. 8. What's going on? He glances between us, feigning confusion. Cassia's upset about the lake house listing, Mom explains, her voice softening to the tone she uses when recounting family gossip. Family helps family, that's how it works, she adds, as if reciting a commandment. Your brother needs a proper home now. Dad leans forward, his jaw set. We raised you, put you through college. That house should be helping all of us, not sitting empty most of the year. I look between them, these people I've supported through countless emergencies and temporary setbacks. You had no right, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. Tanner drops onto the sofa, his presence expanding to fill the space. Listen, it's practically done anyway. My colleague at work already agreed to pay cash, no questions asked. Your colleague? The words feel distant, disconnected. Yeah, Mark knows a good deal when he sees one. Tanner's smirk returns, confident. He's already put down $5,000 as a good faith deposit. The room tilts slightly. You took money? For my house? We were going to surprise you with your cut at dinner next Sunday, Mom interjects, as if this explains everything. The full picture crystallizes. They've not only listed my property, they've collected money for it. My sanctuary, the place I retreat to when work pressure builds to breaking point, has been parceled off without my knowledge. If they forge documents or complete this fraudulent sale, the legal complications would be catastrophic, for all of us. Do you understand what you've done? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. This is fraud. People go to prison for this. Don't be dramatic, Tanner scoffs. You're being selfish. Lacey and I have a baby coming, and we need the money more than you need a vacation home. Dad nods along, emboldened. $410,000 in equity just sitting there while your brother struggles. Is that how we raised you? Mom reaches for my hand, which I pull away. Family is all you'll have when you're our age, Cassia. Think about that. For a moment, their words almost land the familiar guilt rushing back like muscle memory. Then I remember the verification steps I set up with my bank after the last emergency loan to Tanner. The additional security measures I quietly implemented when something in my gut warned me something wasn't right. That small foresight might be the only thing standing between me and financial ruin. Driving home that evening, I wonder if I should confront them again with legal consequences, or quietly take action to protect myself before they could do more damage. The satisfaction of seeing their faces when I called their bluff was tempting, but a clean break might save me years of manipulation. What would you do when those who should protect you become the ones you need protection from? On Sunday, later that week, my brother's voice echoes through my phone speaker, dripping with rehearsed concern. Aunt Martha, I don't know what to do. Lacey's having such a difficult pregnancy, and Cassia's just abandoned us. I press my ear against the wall of my cousin's guest bathroom, where I've retreated during Sunday brunch. Tanner doesn't know I'm at Martha's house too. He thinks I declined the invitation. Poor Lacey, he continues. The doctor says she needs to reduce stress, but how can she when we're scrambling for a place to live? My sister sits on 2 properties while we might end up in some apartment complex with who knows what kinds of neighbors. My stomach knots as I recognize his strategy, the same one he's been using all week. 3 days ago, it was Uncle Jim who called me, concern heavy in his voice. Everything okay, sweetheart? Heard there's some trouble with the family. Yesterday, it was my childhood friend Ellie, who'd somehow heard I was going through something difficult with my parents. The coordinated attack becomes clearer when I return to the table. Aunt Martha studies my face with narrowed eyes, her fork paused midair. Your mother mentioned you will have to attend the family meeting on the following Thursday. Family meeting? I keep my voice steady. The intervention, she clarifies, as if I should know. At my house. For you. When I get home, 6 voicemails await distant relatives I haven't spoken to in months, all suddenly concerned about my heartlessness during Lacey's difficult time. Monday morning brings a call from Diane in HR. Your mother phoned, mentioned a family emergency requiring financial assistance. Is everything all right? The walls close in further when I check my credit card statement. Small charges appear from stores my mother frequents: $24 at the drugstore, $37 at a home goods shop, $19 at a garden center. Transactions I never made, but small enough I might have overlooked them. My phone buzzes, Dad's name appears on the screen, and my pulse quickens. My finger hovers over decline as I realize I've developed a physical reaction to their calls: shallow breathing, racing heart, a cold sweat breaking across my forehead. Sleep eludes me for the 3rd night in a row. At 2:17 a.m., I stare at my ceiling, imagining the legal battles ahead. Will I have to sue my own parents? Testify against them? The thought sends me to the bathroom, retching into the toilet. By Wednesday, I've changed every password, frozen my credit, and documented each unauthorized access attempt. The bank flags suspicious activity. Someone tried to transfer funds from my savings using my mother's computer. The branch manager sounds surprised when she calls. They've attempted this before? I spread financial records across my kitchen table, creating a timeline. The emergency loan for Dad's heart medication that somehow funded a cruise. The temporary help with Tanner's wedding that was never repaid. The monthly transfers to their account that became expected, then demanded. It wasn't helping family through rough patches. It was financial abuse, calculated and persistent. The weight of this realization crushes my chest when my phone rings again. I nearly ignore it until I see Reed's name. Cassia, he says, his voice a lifeline of normality. Remember that pediatric ER doctor who was interested in the lake house last year? She called this morning. Still wants it, can close in a week. Cash offer, just say the word. For the first time in days, I feel a flicker of something other than dread, a path forward appearing where there had only been walls. That evening, I sit surrounded by evidence of years of one-sided family support, spreadsheets detailing over $140,000 transferred to my parents and brother, emails promising repayment that never came, text messages with escalating demands disguised as gratitude. When Mom calls, I answer with steady hands. Honey, she begins, her voice honeyed with false concern. We're just trying to help everyone be taken care of. That's what families do. I watch the sunset, paint my wall orange as clarity washes over me. No, Mom, you're trying to take care of yourselves using what I've built. The intervention will help you see. I will not come to the intervention, I interrupt, my voice surprisingly calm. I'm taking control of my own life. So, the silence stretches between us. I realize something profound in that moment. I don't need their approval to protect myself. Their disappointment has been my prison for years, but the key has always been in my hands. I'm going to sell the lake house, I tell her, on my terms. She begins to sputter, but I've already ended the call. Within an hour, Reed emails me sales paperwork, asking no questions beyond what's necessary. By morning, the bank manager Sarah has helped me secure new accounts with advanced fraud alerts. Family financial situations can be the most painful, she says, without judgment. We'll make sure you're protected. Their respect for my decisions stands in stark contrast to my family's dismissal of my autonomy. With each signature, each security measure, I feel my voice growing stronger, my decisions coming without the familiar second-guessing. The weekend after the intervention I did not attended brings rapid developments, an expedited inspection, paperwork filed electronically, a cash offer that needs no financing contingencies. The buyer wants immediate possession and offers to cover closing costs to speed things along. We can close by Wednesday next week, Reed confirms. I agree, and we focus on obtaining other documents to prevent my family from intervening. Wednesday morning, I sign the final paperwork, my signature firm and unhesitating. As I set down the pen, my phone screen lights up. 5 missed calls from my parents. I turn the phone face down and sign the last page. The closing table gleams under fluorescent lights as I sign the final document, my signature flowing across the page without hesitation. The realtor, a woman I'd never met before, Reed arranged this expedited closing nods approvingly. That's the last one, Miss Callahan. She collects the papers with practiced efficiency. Congratulations on a smooth transaction. My phone vibrates in my pocket, the 5th call from my mother this morning. I silence it without looking. When will the funds transfer? 1. The wire should complete by 3 this afternoon. She taps her tablet. And the new owners will take possession immediately. They've already scheduled the locksmith for 5 o'clock. I nod, surprised by the calm I feel. No second thoughts, no guilt. Just the quiet certainty that I'm finally protecting myself. By Thursday afternoon, $382,000 appears in my new account, one my parents have no knowledge of, at a bank they've never entered. I sit in my car outside the branch, methodically working through my financial defense plan. First, I revoke their access to my existing accounts. Then I cancel the automatic payments I've been making toward their mortgage, car loans, and credit cards. When I finish, I text Reed. It's done. His response comes seconds later. Keys handed over. Locks changing now. You're free. Free. The word settles over me like a warm blanket. That evening, my phone rings again, Mom. This time I answer. There's been a mistake, she says, voice pitched high with panic. Someone changed the locks on your house. I picture her standing on the deck, potential buyers shuffling awkwardly behind her as she discovers her scheme has collapsed. It's not my house anymore, I say quietly. I sold it. A beat of shocked silence. That's impossible. The new owners are a lovely couple. Doctors. They've just moved from Boston. But she stops abruptly. I can hear muffled voices in the background. Her next words come out strained. We were just about to show some friends your lovely place. Those weren't friends, Mom. They were buyers you found for a house you don't own. From the background, I hear a man's voice asking questions. Mom's hasty explanation sounds thin even from a distance. I imagine the scene, her credibility crumbling, as these strangers realize they've been part of something underhanded. My phone beeps with another call, Dad. I need to go, I tell her. Goodbye, Mom. I switch to Dad's call, holding the phone slightly away from my ear. What the hell do you think you're doing? His voice booms. We had arrangements for that property. Arrangements you made without my consent. We need those keys immediately. His voice drops to that low, demanding tone he uses when he expects immediate compliance. Family emergencies happen. We need access. I tap my fingers against the steering wheel, considering. Should I explain that I know everything? The forged documents, the deposits they've taken, the lies they've told family members? Would revealing their schemes bring closure, or just fuel their justifications? The house belongs to someone else now, I say instead. There's nothing more to discuss. This isn't over, Dad growls before hanging up. Later that night, Reed forwards me the formal property transfer notification he sent to my parents. The document is beautifully precise. Dates, amounts, legal language that leaves no room for misinterpretation. I can finally sleep peacefully. Next evening, Sarah at the bank documented the unauthorized access attempts. Reed tells me over dinner at a quiet restaurant far from my usual haunts. And the new owners installed security cameras this afternoon after I mentioned potential unwanted visitors. I smile, imagining the protective barrier forming around the life I've rebuilt. Thank you. To freedom. Reed raises his glass. My phone rings again. Tanner this time. I consider ignoring it but answer instead. What do you mean you sold it? His voice has none of the usual confidence. Pure panic. We already promised it to someone. That wasn't your promise to make. They gave us money, Cassia. His voice drops to a whisper. $5,000. That's fraud, Tanner. I keep my voice steady. You sold something you don't own. You don't understand what you've done. He sounds truly frightened now. Dad's making excuses to everyone, but people are asking questions. My phone pings with a notification, a security alert from the system the new owners installed. Someone has just attempted to access the property. I watch the footage load, unsurprised to see my father trying his old key in the new locks. The timestamp shows 8:42 p.m. I understand exactly what I've done, I tell Tanner. I've taken back control of my life. As I end the call, a strange lightness fills my chest. For the first time in years, I'm not responsible for fixing my family's problems. Their schemes, their promises, their expectations, none of it belongs to me anymore. The lake house was never just about property. It was about my right to build something for myself. Something they couldn't take. My phone buzzes with texts from various family members, questions, accusations, demands for explanations. I set it to silent and slide it into my purse. Tomorrow will bring new battles. But tonight, in this quiet moment of victory, I allow myself to simply breathe. The doorbell rings at 7:30 on a Wednesday evening the week after. I'm curled up on my couch with a mug of chamomile tea, reviewing investment options for my newly secured funds, when the unexpected sound jolts me from my concentration. Through the peephole, I see them all standing there, Mom, Dad, Tanner, and Lacey, her hand resting protectively over her slightly rounded belly. I consider pretending I'm not home, but that would only delay the inevitable. With a deep breath, I unlock the door. Honey, Mom says, her smile stretched too wide as she steps forward for a hug I don't return. We thought it was time we all talked. They file in without waiting for an invitation, arranging themselves on my furniture like they've rehearsed it. Mom and Dad take the couch while Tanner guides Lacey to my reading chair, positioning her front and center like a prop. We've come up with a compromise. Dad announces, his businessman voice in full effect, the same tone he used when convincing clients to sign contracts they hadn't fully read. Mom nods, patting the space beside her. Sit down, sweetie. This affects all of us as a family. I remain standing. What kind of compromise? Tanner clears his throat. We understand that selling the lake house was your decision. The words sound painfully rehearsed. And we're willing to forgive that decision. Forgive? The word tastes bitter on my tongue. Mom jumps in. Family unity is what matters most, especially now, with a new generation coming. She gestures toward Lacey, who shifts uncomfortably under the spotlight. Dad leans forward, elbows on knees. All we're asking is that you share half the proceeds with your brother. For the baby, think about what people will say if you don't help your own flesh and blood when they're starting a family. Lacey looks up, her eyes meeting mine for the first time. We've already put a deposit down on a condo near the hospital. The realtor is holding it for us until Friday. Her voice drops. We told him you'd be helping with the down payment. The room falls silent, all eyes on me, waiting for me to crumble under the weight of family expectations. But something inside me has hardened, like amber preserving the moment I decided I was done being their solution. Without a word, I walk to my desk and return with a leather portfolio. I unlock it with steady hands and remove a thick stack of papers. I've been expecting this visit. I spread the documents on the coffee table between us. So I prepared something for you to see. The papers form a meticulous record: spreadsheets, bank statements, and photocopied checks during all these years. Each entry represents money flowing in one direction, from me to them. $147,000. I tap the total at the bottom of the summary page. That's what I've given this family in the past few years alone. Dad shifts uncomfortably. Tanner suddenly finds his shoes fascinating. I pull out another statement. $900 a month for 3 years. That's what I've been paying toward your second mortgage after you nearly lost the house. I look directly at my parents. A fact you conveniently forgot to mention to Tanner when you were discussing my extra resources. Mom's face flushes. That was different. We were in a tough spot. You've been in a tough spot for my entire adult life. I interrupt, my voice steady despite the heat rising in my chest. I've been supporting this family for years. I'm done being your ATM. I place another document on the table, the final mortgage statement for my apartment, stamped PAD in full. I sold my lake house to secure my own future. For once. Tanner springs up. But what about our future? Lacey's pregnant, for God's sake. I didn't sell my house to hurt you, I say. I sold it to protect myself. The truth hangs in the air between us, sharp and undeniable. I walk to my sideboard and retrieve a sealed envelope. The security company logo is visible in the corner. I place it on top of the financial records. The new owners installed security cameras after closing the agreement legally, I say, looking directly at my father. They caught someone trying to break in through the back door last weekend. Dad's face drains of color. They've filed a police report. I slide the envelope toward him. For attempted unlawful entry. Tanner stands beside Dad, hands balled into fists. We were just trying to secure what should have been family property. You know, there were still some of our things in that shed. I straighten to my full height, looking down at them now, physically reversing our usual positions when they'd sit in judgment over me at their dining table. It was never family property, I say, each word precise. It was mine, earned with my work, my down payment, my mortgage. Mom's eyes fill with tears, right on cue. After all we've done for you. Her voice cracks perfectly. How can you treat your family this way? The performance might have worked a month ago. Not anymore. I'll always be your daughter, I say, moving toward the front door and opening it wide. But I will never again be your financial solution. They leave in stages, Dad first, brushing past without meeting my eyes, then Tanner, guiding Lacey with a hand on her back, and finally Mom, lingering at the threshold. You'll regret this, she whispers, loud enough for everyone to hear, when you're alone with no one to take care of you. I close the door without responding. For the first time in years, the silence in my apartment feels like freedom. My phone rings 20 minutes later. Reed's name flashes on the screen. The police contacted me about the break-in, he says without preamble. They're considering pressing charges against your father. I sink into my chair, suddenly exhausted. What does that mean? It depends if the new owners want to pursue it. Reed pauses. And what this means for Tanner and Lacey's situation. Have you thought about that? I haven't. With a baby coming and no housing secured, their desperation will only grow. After we hang up, I stare at my phone for a long moment. Then I open my contacts and begin the process of changing my number, severing the cord that has kept me tethered to their demands for so long. Some family ties aren't meant to bind. Sometimes they're meant to be cut. Sunlight streams through my apartment windows, casting golden patterns across a wall of framed photographs, images of mountain vistas, European cafes, and rugged coastlines. 6 months have passed since I sold the lake house, and not a single family portrait remains. In their place hang moments of freedom captured through my lens. My phone buzzes on the coffee table. I check the screen, then deliberately set it down without answering. No more panic calls about family emergencies that mysteriously require immediate financial infusions. The quiet feels earned, almost sacred. And how does that feel, making these choices for yourself? Dr. Levinson asks from our video call on my laptop. I stretch my arms wide, something I couldn't do 6 months ago without the weight of guilt compressing my shoulders, like breathing after being underwater too long. After our session, I gather my materials for tonight's financial literacy workshop. I volunteer twice monthly now, helping others recognize the warning signs of financial abuse. The irony doesn't escape me, learning to protect others by first protecting myself. When the mail arrives, a cream-colored envelope stands out among the bills. I recognize Lacey's handwriting immediately. Inside, an invitation to her and Tanner's baby shower, the first family contact in months. 3 years ago, this envelope would have triggered a familiar spiral. Guilt, obligation, the mental calculation of how much money I should enclose in a card. Today, I simply appreciate the delicate floral border and the fact that my brother and sister-in-law are creating a family of their own. I select a practical gift online, a convertible stroller from their registry, and write a sincere card offering congratulations. No check enclosed. My finger hesitates only briefly before clicking send. You speak about your family differently now, Dr. Levinson had observed in our session. There's understanding in your voice rather than resentment. Understanding doesn't mean I have to become their ATM again, I'd replied, That evening, Reed and Sarah arrive at my apartment with takeout containers and a bottle of champagne. The three of us gather around my small dining table, the one I purchased after donating the expensive table my mother had guilted me into buying for them years ago. Reed raises his glass. To building futures, not fixing pasts. We clink glasses, and I feel a swell of gratitude for these friends who helped me see the difference between generosity and exploitation. Reed, who spotted the fraudulent listing. Sarah, who helped secure my finances. Both who stood beside me when family wouldn't tend. I have something to show you, I say, spreading plans across the table after dinner. They lean forward to examine the blueprint for a small cabin in the mountains. More modest than the lake house, but designed specifically for my needs, a photography studio with northern light, a wraparound porch for morning coffee, walls built to keep out winter winds but not supportive friends. It's perfect, Sarah says, tracing the outline with her finger. Behind the blueprints lie brochures for international photography workshops, Iceland in winter, Tuscany in spring, opportunities I'd always postponed for family obligations. My phone chimes with a text from Aunt Naomi. Ed and Lorraine started financial counseling last week. Baby steps. Later, curled in my reading chair, I open my journal. The pages no longer document family loans or broken promises. Instead, they hold dreams, plans, possibilities, the architecture of a future built on my terms. As I planned my new cabin, I wondered if true forgiveness means allowing people back into your life, or simply wishing them well from a distance. Family ties are precious, but at what point does protecting yourself become more important than maintaining those connections? What would you choose? Reconciliation with clear boundaries, or the peace of a clean break? I close the journal, not needing an immediate answer. For the first time in years, I have the luxury of time to decide what family means on my own terms.